Welcome to our webinar. That where the title of this webinar is Always Give Thanks. Everything happens for a reason. Thank you all for joining us, whether you're on this live session or you're watching later on. Thank you. So my name is Fabian. I'm a social work intern. The other two social work interns are Linda and Mandisa, along with our supervisor, who is the chief educator of Havali, Maurice Emmanuel Garcia. So all of us at Havali, we're excited and very happy to have you all join us as we talk about gratitude and grace. So, translating that, moi vraiment content pour nous toutes Kavin parler de gratitude, reconnaissance à grâce. Yeah. So, in this changing world that we live in, it's easy to overlook all the negative experiences and all the hidden lessons that we can go through. So, lika facile pour nous ignorer toutes les leçons
Yes,
qui
li ka facile, c'est ça, c'est ça. Li ka facile pour nous ignorer toutes les leçons, c'est ça, c'est vrai.
yeah, qui cachent dans expérience. No. So today we will all collaborate and discuss ways we can practice within our experience. So in this session, some of us will share difficult stories, difficult situations. We talk about ways we can turn gratitude in our everyday life. So with that being said, everything happens for a reason, even if we don't understand why at the moment. So let me first start off telling you about my story. So when I was 17 years old in 2009, I don't mind telling you my age. So in 2009, I was 17 years old. I was involved in a serious car accident. That car accident, it gave me brain injury, and I was put in a coma for 6 weeks, a month and a half. When I woke up from the coma, I went straight to nursing home rehabilitation center. I stayed there for 4 months. I was basically a baby all over again at 17 years old. I had to learn everything all over. I had to learn to walk, to talk, to eat, to eat or swallow. I had a feeding tube. So I had speech therapy, occupational therapy, and physical therapy. So again, I stayed there for 4 months. When I got discharged to go home, I I left the rehab in a walker and I came in like basically like in a wheelchair. So when I went home, I still couldn't walk well or do anything really, do anything well. So I went home, I stayed home in bed. I was watching television. I couldn't really go back to school. So meanwhile, that was during my senior year of high school. So because of that, I missed my whole senior year. I missed graduation. I missed prom. I missed everything. So during that time, my friends at the time would come visit me and hang with me, but it was somewhat depressing at that time because they would always talk about senior year, they talk about graduation, cheerleading, which I loved. I was a varsity cheerleader. They talk about graduation, prom, all of those I wasn't able to attend. So after, well, I had homeschool to finish off my senior year, and then I graduated in December of 2010. And then January 2011, I went to community college and it was it was it was it was more I was more grateful and happy that I was alive to say because I feel like when I went to the college I had my own little independence rather than when I wasn't able to do anything on my own. So that felt great that I was able to do things myself and get away from my house. So with all that, so so fast forward, I finished high school. I went to community college. I got my associate's degree. I moved on, went and got my bachelor's degree in public health. I'm currently getting my master's degree in social work. So, with all that being said, there's only 5 words that I can think of. Everything happens for a reason. So as we move forward in this webinar, consider like the moments that you may have gone through, whether it was big or small, and just pretty much think of the grace and gratitude that the grace and gratitude that it the grace and gratitude that the unexpected times led to. So I'm going to pass over to Linda, who will share with us the icebreaker question. Linda?
Thank you so much for sharing that story and, getting us really started. The question before us is, do you believe everything happens for a reason, as Fabienne was saying? Those 5 words. Do you believe everything happens for a reason. And I can kick it off. As you were talking, and I was thinking, do I believe everything happens for a reason? And I kind of think I do. And I thought about when I graduated from high school, and I wanted to get away from my house, like most people who are just coming into their young adult years. I wanted to get away from my house. I got accepted to a college that was a sleeper. I get a chance to go to the residence, and I would be on my own, independent. And at the same time, I got a financial incentive to come to Adelphi. And so I really wasn't interested because I knew it was going to be me commuting to Adelphi and not getting away from my home. But my father was very encouraging to say, you're going to Adelphi. And I'm going to say it certainly happened for a reason, because I started Adelphi in 1970. I took a few twists and turns before I finished my bachelor's degree in 1990. Went back for my master's in education. Went back for a literacy degree in education. And now here I am at 37 in their master's program of social work. And I'm here at this webinar, or where you could really trace it back to my father saying, no, you are not going to, I think it was Long Island University I was going to go to. And at the time I was so crushed. I was just so devastated. But it looks like all things happen for a reason. I'd love to hear someone else share. You're muted, Mandisa. Oh.
Hi. I love to hear that story. It reminded me of.
Now both of you are muted. Mandisa?
We're just having a little technical difficulty.
Oh, okay.
So we're just trying to sort it out so it doesn't do a kickback with the audio.
Gotcha.
You can hear me fine now, right? No echo?
Mm-hmm.
All right, perfect. So your story, everything does happen for a reason, I'll tell you that. When I went to community college as well, just like Fab, I started out at Nassau Community College. I really didn't want to. I felt like that was the 11th, no, what we call it, 13th grade. And I was like, oh my God, like, please, can I not? But my mom insisted, no, go to Nassau, figure things out before you go somewhere else. I did that, graduated, and then I went to LIU, Post, well, it was called Post at the time. So I ended up at LIU, and it was such an amazing experience there. I got my bachelor's degree, and I I wanted to go to Stony Brook, actually, and I was so devastated when Stony Brook did not choose me. But my mom told me, what is for you, it won't pass you. So maybe you're supposed to go to one of these schools that did accept you, even though it wasn't your top pick. I love my experience at Post. Shortly after I had my daughter, and I was so determined to still go back and get my master's because that was part of my plan. And it was so difficult being a first-time mom. I lived so far away from the university at the time because I was going, I did get back into LIU to do my master's. And imagine commuting from Brooklyn, where I lived at the time temporarily. I lived in Brooklyn. I worked in Freeport, Long Island, and then I was traveling to Brookville, Long Island for school. And then I had to fly back to Brooklyn to pick her up from daycare
Oh,
It was insane. I was exclusively breastfeeding at the time. She wasn't even a year old yet. And it was just taking everything. And I was working full time. I didn't finish. I had to drop out. And it was so devastating because I felt like a failure. I felt like I was always getting good grades. I was pulling honors. Like, what is wrong with me? Like, why can't I get this done? I went into my midterms. I took the midterm. I got like a 90. That professor that I'm referring to, she was so awesome. She knew that I was struggling. She pulled me to the side, like, what's going on? And I'm like, it's just a lot. Right now, it's a lot. It's not like when I was doing my undergrad. And she was like, well, take the midterm, see how you do, and let me know what you choose after. I got like a 90 something on the midterm, and I looked at her with tears running down my face. I was like, I knew what I was gonna do. I was gonna withdraw because I knew I couldn't keep it up at that time, but I had to prove to myself that I was capable. So I would have that in my mind for when I come back. Now, fast forward, I am doing it right now today with 2 kids, might I add, and I'm getting it done. Anticipated graduation 2026. I'm surrounded up by a different group of people who I would not have known at that time, who have been so supportive in my journey. Networking with different agencies. I have professional development because I was working in the field all that time. That's helping me be successful now, where things could have been a little different then. So everything does happen for a reason. And I am doing something that I thought I felt like a failure before, but it's happening now because now is when it was supposed to happen with who I'm doing it with. So I am a firm believer that everything does happen for a reason. All things in due time. That's my 2 cents. I'm gonna mute now and open the floor back up to anyone else.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing so far. And as I listen to you and thinking about like everything happened for a reason, and for us in the context where we are talking about school, which is one of the bases of what we did, so we can have our livelihood and work and have our passions. So first, I want to say thank you to Fabienne qui
exactly.
partageait avec nous comment que à 17 ans, il t'a fait un accident qui t'a fait, et fait presque 6 mois. Il était dans le coma, après ça, il était dans la réhabilitation. Et ça t'a fait que il était obligé de venir apprendre à marcher, apprendre à manger. Et pour pas qu'arriver graduer avec tous les élèves qui étaient dans la classe, qui t'a fait high school. Donc, ou même qu'à côté, imaginez que à 17 ans, ou fait un accident comme ça, à côté que ou pas capable finir high school, pour y arriver et reconnaître que li gagne dans lui-même, pour lui à l'école, il fait associate, ça l'a fait associate, ça prend au moins 2 ans, que le fait dans 2 ans, 3 ans, il aller sous wheelchair, il finit, il fait bachelor in public health, pour aujourd'hui arriver que l'a fait social worker. So today, as we gather today and reflecting on giving thanks, gratitude, everything happened for a reason, we are asking you who are listening now to reflect on your life, because it's not just about your schooling, it could be different things that happen. I listened to you guys, and I remember when I first came to this country in 1970, my dream in Haiti was to become a dentist.
Really?
I came to here and went to high school for a year and a half
No.
and realized that my parents were working very hard to take care of us. I said, I need to do something that can help us, the family. And I decided to do the challenges that I had applying for it is the schools were saying, you know, you don't speak enough English, you cannot do that. So the only school that accepted me, like we said, you apply to 5 school, 10 school, the ones you really dreams, they don't accept you. And I'm talking about school, but just think about the efforts that each one of you may have done in different area and you are not successful. That's what we're talking about. So I end up going from Brooklyn to go to school to Staten Island. I barely spoke English, a year and a half in the state. And I went to Staten Island And in Staten Island, they said they would only accept me to go for liberal arts, not laboratory, because I don't speak English. I didn't know I had the activism in me. I start putting the English together and tell the people, I want to go in the laboratory, curriculum. The next they told me, if you do really well in your first semester, you will be able to go into that curriculum. I did well, and I was accepted in that curriculum, and I graduated with the 2 years. And
Oh,
I
wow.
would say everything happens for a reason, because when today we were talking about, me changing hats and being supervising interns, and I'm the educator for a valley. I didn't know that I was an educator then. Then I remember at the school I was pushed and in a way positively. I want to get all good grades. And I never liked, when I was in Haiti, I didn't like chemistry. In the school, they give you the stipend, like a student, to help you have a student. I forgot the name. How you call it again? That grant they give you, and you have to work at the school. I became within this first year, after my first semester, I became a tutor for chemistry. So that I would say was very helpful. And from Staten Island, I will go fast and say, okay, I'm gonna go back to school. I went to Hunter and working at night, and got married. Oh God, I can't go to school anymore. I'm gonna go back. It took me 10 years to go back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
10 years. And I went to St. Joseph in Patchogue, a private school. And I remember going there and I said, oh my God, all the students are children. I'm already grown up in my 40s, having kids, and I had 2 kids already. Then finished that and working with my community, I said, I want to become a social worker because I feel like that's where, I could do a lot. And when I'm saying everything happened for a reason in that sense, when I look at the background and all that I have done, and just like we said, it all fell together, like my laboratory experience, my public health and administration and counseling, and becoming a social worker. So, in looking back, not just like I said, the school, let's think about not just in our education path, but in life. Or many things may have happened to us or to anyone hearing us that when you think, oh bon Dieu, bagay sa, bakon sa pou m'fè, mais tel bagay rive mwen, et puis m'kite tout l'idée négatif, yo krasé nou. We don't see any positive in it. And even if somebody talk to you, même l'on moun pale avec ou pat kap tende, parce que faut qu'on pare pour tende. Parce que as I listen to Fabienne, like each one of us, everything happens for a reason and she get to see it. But what was it for you, Fabienne, at 17? Could you tell us a little bit more? What went through your mind at 17? You said, your friends were talking about school, but you were in a wheelchair and you doing that. What was the hardest moment for you before you realized it was like now we can look at it? Because that's what we want people to see. It doesn't come quick that we see the gratefulness and the positive in it. We go through the negative. So for you, for example, it was an accident. What was the hardest thing?
So I don't, I'm not sure if I said this already, but yeah, I did. So it was depressing when I got home because everyone was talking about all the stuff I wasn't able to do. So yeah, it was depressing. It left me sad. It gave me negative thoughts that you can understand. So it was like just, I had no reason to be here anymore. So that's why I feel like when I went away to college, that's when everything changed. Like I was able to see that there's more to life than just being home in bed.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, thank you. That's why we know I ask, what could have gone through your mind? Because when we go into something and you going through it, you have those feelings. And a lot of time our environment cannot be supportive because they may have a hard time dealing with the change themselves, you know? And it's like when you say that, I remember when I was going through my divorce, and which is not a great time. And when I spoke about what I was feeling, many members of my family says, "Oh, don't say that, don't do that." And it's in a lot of time you are left alone. And I said, I was left alone with my God. Most likely, some of us, depending on your spirituality, may say that you were left alone when. And so I said example as a divorce, like different situations, you know. I see Mendisa would like to add something.
Don't forget to take care of something. In you.
Mute.
Can you guys hear? Can you
Yes.
hear me?
Yes, now I'm better.
Okay. So I was going to add, it was definitely, so when I had my daughter, she was my first. She wasn't planned initially. And I got a lot of not receptive family members to me having a daughter at what they considered a young age. Um, I was 24 turning 25, and I received a lot of tough love at that time. And I could say tough love now because the family, they're still around. They love my kids dearly and they love me dearly. But at that time, I felt abandoned. I felt lonely. Um, and I didn't know what I was doing or how I was going to get it done. I thought, at the time that my daughter's dad would be, and he was initially, be more involved. And then we ended up, life, and then we ended up separating. And then what I thought was like kind of a dark place got even darker because not only I didn't feel like fully prepared for this big life-changing event. I didn't feel like I had a lot of support. I won't say that I didn't have any support at all, but I just didn't have what I anticipated that I would have, right? And then separating from my daughter's father, things got dark because now you have this negative relationship happening, and then I'm doing it raising her as a single mom, in search of a place to live and trying to figure out the finances. And it was so hard. But now the tough love that I received and going through the motions of being a single mom, even at a young age, living on my own, making these big adult-like decisions and caring for another human being, keeping her safe, healthy, fed, clothed, all of the above, it I grew up. I became resilient. Like the biggest part, the resiliency that I have now came out of that. The level of independence that I have now came out of that. The closeness that I got to my spirituality also came out of that. So it's like I had to walk through the fire, so to say, to come out as the phoenix. I was very inexperienced prior to that. And I always felt like my family was in my corner and backing me because I was doing all the things that they wanted to see me do until then. And it was like, whoa, it was like an eye opener. But I have all of that in my personality pocket right now because of walking through those moments. So yeah, I could definitely see the gratitude out of it now. But back then, oh my God, I was all the things. I was depressed. I had undiagnosed anxiety happening because I'm feeling all these things I never felt before. You know, it was bad. It was dark. So it is a hard place when you're going through it, but it brings out a different side in you that you will be able to tap into in the future when you're faced with a crisis or a situation. You have that now in you as a resource to help you get to the next level.
Mhm. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Mendisa, because, you know, when as I listen to you, uh, and I said, you know, again, when we go into something, we're not going to see the reason, but the how we deal with it on a day to day and step by step, and using the strength and what you have. Like, for example, you say your spirituality. Our spirituality for many of us is a strength. And in addition to that, I encourage to have the proper environment, to have a few people who got you. Because I can see in the different moments of my life, there was always somebody, and that's what got me through. Somebody. Because you mentioned, you know, having a child at 25, and I'm looking at all of us and many of us who will be listening to this on a cultural background. We have our parents have expectations the same way we have expectations, and it's hard for you see the gratitude in it. Maybe some of the parents never saw the full gratitude. So I'm asking anybody listening, when something is not just happening to you, but something that can happen in your family. Think about some of the things that happened that were very created shame and fear, judgment that put you in a place that was hard. And where are you today with it? Because the one of the reason, like, we promote mental wellness, and we continue to tell people life happens, and when we said mental health, we know in our communities, Haitian, Caribbeans, all of us, we take mental health is mental illness. And those things we're describing here are life events that give us depression, that can give us anxiety, that can give us, put us in a dark place where we see some even commit suicide, and they don't get to see the light and understand that everything happens for a reason. So it's really for not just for us, but share the words with others, because it may be somebody who's 37 like me and Linda.
Yeah.
Look at us, we're 37, right? Okay, we look back at life, certain moment that we went through. Some of us may recognize the greatness and be grateful for it, because we grow, like you, Melissa, you mentioned being resilient. I would say, even coming to the country as an immigrant, things that happen to us give us that resiliency if we are able to get through it. And that's what we are about, encouraging you to get through it. So, Linda, anything you want to add more? Because we have so much we could say. We all
Yeah.
have life
Yeah.
experience, every age.
Certainly, or as we share our stories, a lot of times we find out we have so many, maybe haven't gone through the exact same experience, but we have had to deal with what life has dealt to us. And how do you do that? How do you bounce back and not end up in a place that's dark that kind of sucks you. That's one thing, like when you're in a dark place, it's kind of vacuums you down if you don't have something to anchor you. It's like you don't just stay, oh, this is bad. It's like every day you find more and more to not be happy about. But for me, and I'm really grateful that the Lord kind of hardwired me to look for the silver lining, and it afforded me a level of peace. A lot of story. All of us have a lot of stories, I'm sure. But sometimes you say you could write a book, but who would believe it? I can tell you, I could write a real book, and it might surprise a lot of people. But my faith in God. First, I was raised with faith in God, but as I got out on my own, I thought faith in God and being in a religion was the same thing, kind of. And I got away from being in a religion to be a grown up and do my own thing. But I'm thankful that I was centered in knowing that who God was and who God was to me. And it kept me looking up and not looking down. And say when you look to the hills, you see the sky. When you look down, you just going down, down, down. So for me, that has really made a big difference in how I've been able to. Like I said, I started at Delphi in 1970. I came in on a dean scholarship, and I graduated in 1990 with 4 kids. So quite a few detours along the way, and many opportunities to not feel it would. I was, I had to learn how to forgive myself for the choices that I made, because I made a lot of choices that brought me where I ended up. But believing that all things are happening for a reason, and seeing how God worked all things together for my good. I can remember with my last daughter, I had 4 children already, and I was 39, and as women, we know when we have an inkling that something might be different. Well, I was like 4 months into the inkling, thinking like any day now I'm going to get it. But it wasn't nothing happening. I brought myself to the doctor, and the doctor said, he said, well, I said, listen, I'm either pregnant or something's wrong with me. And he said, well, which one would you like it to be? And I was like, I don't even know. Like, I don't know. Either one of them could be devastating, at this point of where I'm at in my life. But I thank God that's my baby girl. My baby girl, I wouldn't take nothing for her. How the Lord just allowed us, like she had her siblings were older, so a lot of time we spent together. And so you just never know what God is doing, but just trust in the process and believing that all things are working together for good has really it's been what has allowed me to rise and to see myself put in spaces and places that I didn't know that I would end up, and feel comfortable that I'm where God wants me to be. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's a great topic. I'm glad that it was something that we thought of together, because it really helps you to put your life under that magnifying glass and see the glass is really half full.
Yeah. So Linda, you still have time to write your book.
One of the things that I'm actually, which probably none of you know, I'm actually a Mary Kay consultant, and I have been for 25 years. But I'm not. It's something that the Lord put in my spirit to do that I have not yet done. And one of the things that we do is train for self-awareness and motivation. And one of our leaders was saying, write down the 3 things that you're grateful for, whether you have them or not. And one of the things that I'm grateful for is that I know I am the author of many books. I love to write. I have to put it together. So
You will put it together, and I just want to add too, when I turned 70, I guess I was 7. Uh, from the way we do our math, okay? About 3 years ago, I decided
you're freezing a little bit.
first memoir,
Mhm.
and the title of the book is Merci. Merci, which means thank you. And
Mhm.
it's really in gratitude for my life. And this is to say, I am glad that we're having this conversation. It's taken me back to many, you know, years, different situation where, yes, everything happens for a reason. But for everything to happen for a reason, each of us have to take time to stop giving excuses or blaming someone else for what is our responsibility to do. We always have a choice. And my book title is Merci, to say merci in gratitude, but also it's part of my middle name, La Merci. And that gratefulness, I would say I started seeing it more when I turned 50. That's why and there are different ways we can carry the message we get, sometimes even without saying it. My car, uh, my plate, for my car from 1950, have been La Merci. It's about my gratefulness. And I'm saying that for each one of you listening, when you get a chance to hear us, for you to reflect on your life. It doesn't matter if you are 10, 15, 20, in your 30s, 40s, and 70s and more. We can go back and learn to be at peace. Linda, you mentioned forgiveness, and forgive, and learn that it doesn't matter who wants to judge you. You be truthful with yourself. So, map di, Fabienne, nan tout sa nou di la pou montre koman la vi an, pa jam te fasil pou yon nan nou. La vi an, nou renkontre an pil difikulte, e nou apren ke pou nou rekonet koman chak situasyon sa yo ki kon rive nou, lèn ka depase douleur ke li pote, koman nou ka vin gen sentiman de rekonesans sa. Pour nous que non, si nous-mêmes, nous, d'après spiritualité, nous, son bénédiction li vin ye pour nous. So, Kisa, what else goes through your mind as you listen to us? Because we are happy that, we're discussing this today, to give thanks and realizing that everything happens for a reason. So we said a lot. So, and as we were talking about the different, situations that we went through ourselves.
Are you asking me?
Yes.
Oh, well, wait, so what was the question? I'm sorry, I couldn't, it froze a little.
As you listen to us giving different situations, what's more came to your mind from your own path, your own journey about, yeah, you started you to give us, your story, and we all have a story and more.
So with me, I saw that it's like everyone, like you said, everyone has their own story. Like we all understand that pretty much life goes on, and to not be negative all the time and stay positive. So,
Yeah.
I think
So
that goes into your question.
Yeah, that's it. Like like you said, yeah. If life happens, that's how I usually look at it. Life happens, and it doesn't matter who you are or all you are, what the circumstances, there's always a way out of the darkness. And until you're able to believe that, you will not see the reason. You will not understand it. And I would say for every situation we talked about, it's not a sweet thing. It's painful. It's painful. And most of the time, the two things that you mentioned, depression and anxiety, are the first things, the things that we go through. And it could be a situation that take you in a deep depression, and if you never got out of it, you may end up with having a mental illness. And not to never underestimate the weight of that negative things that may have happened to you. When I say that negative, that situation, okay? If as an immigrant, you migrate in the country, you like as I'm saying that, I remember how many times, I would be counseling, I would be counseling people, and somebody would say to me, could you imagine, I'm 45, I just came to this country, and it's like I'm starting like I'm a kid again. So I'm a kid again. I don't speak the language. I don't know where I'm going. People don't understand me. And I hear other people say, what is she or he talking about? You're not a kid. I understand why you say that.
Yeah.
Why the person say that? Because you the same way when I was 18, I came to this country. I was married. I was in school. I knew I was married all my life. And something simple that gave me I had a hard time to deal with when I went to school in Brooklyn, and they were calling me Marcy. And it happened that the school was on Marcy Avenue. And
Oh,
see why? I was hysterical crying. I would go to the school principal saying, my name is Maryse, I'm not a and oh, what's the big deal? Yes, it is a big deal. It was my identity. And I would write it in English, but I couldn't say it right. And the teacher would go, oh, Marcy, and I start crying again. So, what I'm saying, we have so many layers of things that can happen to us as a human being. We feel it, but we can identify and cope with it. So if we're not able to cope with it, we're not going to get through that dark tunnel to even understand. So when I look back at my high school years of a year and a half coming to this country and to where I am today and the whole journey, those things that I went through in school as a young woman, immigrant woman, taught me about the systems. And when I became a social worker and talking about systems and helping other people, and I would say spiritually, God had a plan for me. And that's one of the reasons I would say, even with a family, when we decided to do, a family, I says, I would like to see other immigrant people don't go through what we went through. You understand? So this is to say you can draw back on your own experience when you're able to get through the pain. You can call me Marcy. It's okay. It doesn't matter. I'm not a, I know what it means, but it had to do with my identity.
And
So,
talking about identity, I remember, hi everyone. I remember when I first came to New York back 1970s, and I went to school, and they put me in a classroom, and I'm a short woman, and they looked at me and saw a young girl. So at the age of 10, right, that's looking at me like if I was 5 years old. And they, I remember going to a playground, and one of the parents is like, "Can your 5-year-old play with my 5-year-old?" And I'm like, "I'm not 5." And that was one of the things that stands out for me as I look back at my life, and being able to affirm my identity. When I went to school, and my teacher was teaching me colors and taught me that I am black, the color black. I'm like, no, I understand you telling me black is black, but I'm not black, I'm brown. And it took a long time for me to check that box, because that's how our society is putting us into that box. And I've always found in some ways people telling me who I am, and there's always that struggle of denying who they're telling me I am, because I know who I am. And that is something that I praise God for, because I didn't know as I was going through these experiences how strong it was for me to have my identity. And
Yeah.
at my age, a retiree, I'm looking back and I'm like, had I not known who I was back then, and stand strong, I could have been like the wind blowing. I could be who you say I am today and who this person says I'm not tomorrow. And, I wouldn't have been able to make it through life because of not knowing who you are can pose so much challenges. And life is not easy to begin with, and not being able to stand firm, your journey already is going to be difficult. And
Yeah.
so, journey is difficult to begin with, but it just makes it that much harder. And I'm grateful for organizations like Hafali, who, after being in New York for so many years and not speaking much Creole, after I started learning English, I gave up my Creole and had to relearn it with my Haitian community. So organizations like Hafali allows for our Haitian heritage to not fall by the waistline, so that we can teach one generation after another who we are and who they are. And at least if they're Haitian American, they'll have that part of identity as Haitian.
Mendesa, before Mendesa, I see you have your hands up. Before you say anything, I just want to say everything happened for a reason. It's not by accident we have 5 social workers here. And a lot of time people don't understand what social workers do. And our life stories uh, as a social workers, the first person we have to take care of is ourselves, so we can take care of others. And we're grateful that our, I call it our God-given spirit, our call to be social workers, we get to recognize a lot of what happened in our lives, and we are able to facilitate and assist others in understanding their potential. So I'm really saying everything happened for a reason. Social work is in action.
Yeah.
Mandisa.
I'm so happy the way the conversation is going today because it's showing that we really all are connected, even though you're walking a different path. We share so many similar experiences, and I know that's going to be a reflection of the people who listen and watch this video later on. They're going to be able to see themselves in someone else's story or have a similar story. I came to this country from Trinidad, and I had a story similar to yours. I bawled my eyes out when they tried to correct my accent when I started in third grade, and I never felt so out of place in my entire life. And I don't know if I told my dad this or if you know what it was? I made a decision to adapt for survival by adapting to the accent, like the American accent. And my dad, when I started talking like that on the phone with him, he's like, we're not doing this. When you speak to me, speak with your Trinidadian accent. You are Trinidadian, say your name loud and proud. You are Mandisa Burrell. And he spoke that into me. I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name, Zoom user, but that identity that was shifting to me for survival purposes and adaptation, he instilled in me, do not forget your culture, do not forget who you are, and do not lose or get rid of your accent for anyone to make other people comfortable. And hearing that at a young age, because I feel like if it wasn't for my dad instilling that, I would have probably lost it. But he instilled that to me very early on. And now, like, I could switch up my accent if I want and talk like this, or I could switch it and talk like this. So I love being able to do that so quickly. And people probably, sometimes my accent might slip out by accident because it's in there natively, but
Yeah.
that's a new skill that I got out of being teased. But then I also had my dad, and Maurice mentioned this in the beginning, having people around you when you're in those dark times. At that young age, I didn't know that that would mean so much to me now, being proud of where I came from and being a proud Trinidadian American. I didn't know it would mean something today, but having my dad be around me and instill that, or having, when I was going through issues with my daughter, my friends called me out and they saw something was wrong with me. I didn't know at that time I was going through postpartum depression. I've heard about it, but I didn't think it would happen to me. And it was. And then they encouraged me to speak to someone. I started therapy, and that's why I was able to identify something's wrong. But it was because of my friends, my near and dear best friends, sisters. They were like, this is not you. Something's wrong.
Yeah.
And again, having the right people around you can be a great support system, but also not being afraid to seek help. A lot of the Caribbean people feel like we could just do it on our own because we're just so strong, and we don't believe in telling people our business, and we don't believe in paying someone to tell you what's wrong or paying someone to talk. And if that's where you are right now, okay, find someone that you could confide in. It could be someone in your circle, a friend, a family, a church member, a coworker that you've grown a good relationship with. The fact is, speak up, because in me speaking up about my process of discovering and going through postpartum, I was able to create an awareness in my friends group. And one of my best friends who became a mom, now she would, because I was open and I spoke, now she was able to be aware of certain things to look out for as a new mom if she may be developing postpartum depression herself. Because it does happen. So these were all some thoughts that, as the conversation was progressing, that I was connecting with at different phases in life. And I just feel like it's important to reiterate these things before we get ready to close out. Tap into your circle or a person or a community, like Zoom user mentioned. Having Hafali and reconnecting with the Haitian community has centered her in her Haitian culture and Haitian dialect, where she lost it before. But that community and that sense of belonging helps enrich who you are, and then you can use that to inspire others. Like Fab being as brave as she was today to share her story. We were talking before we jumped on this Zoom, and I was like, girl, like, you don't even know how much people you are about to inspire with your story. There's a lot of young people who crisis and tragedy happen to them. And when they hear your story and see how you're able to overcome, they'll believe that they can too. And maybe that could pull them out of a, like this Zoom, this and you and your story could be the something that pulls them out of depression or suicidal ideations or anything of that nature. So I'm glad we had this forum to talk and share our stories, because I know for a fact somebody's going to connect with it and it's going to mean something to someone moving forward, as long as the video exists. So thank you for creating this, Fab, and sharing your story and hearing me out, everyone.
Yes.
And
Before
one
we
thing
close,
I do have to
I'm
say,
Magali.
I did mention earlier that my daughter wasn't initially planned, but she was my anchor in those dark times. I actually have a tattoo right here dedicated to her, because if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have a reason to keep going in that time. And she's what I'm grateful for, because she made me a mom and and going through that journey with her made me a better woman and a better person that I am today. She started that. So I'm so grateful for her.
So before we close, I just want to repeat again, give thanks. Everything happens for a reason. As I listen to our conversation this afternoon, and even the way we finishing it, look at us. Afali has been there for 30 years. And in the rebranding that we did in 2025, and with the new executive director looking at 20 as a chrysalis project for 2055 for the next 30 years. And one of our major changes is that Afali was rooted in the Haitian community heritage. And we embracing the Afro indigenous community, because we realize we are more alike than we are unlike. And you know who said that, phenomenal woman?
Maya.
Angelou, okay? We are more alike than we are unalike. And just in this setting, we already have three distinct. We are from Haiti. We were dropped in Haiti. We were dropped in America. We were dropped in Trinidad. And seeing how Afali, we have been able to help the Haitian community. We embracing the whole Caribbean, and we inviting any one of us to see how together we can rise, because we are more alike that we are not alike. And this is what I'm saying to finish, and any one of you can add your.
Well, I have to add, because really that was in my spirit, and I'm grateful that the Lord allowed the connection, because in many areas the African American does not have some sense of belonging in the same ways that people from Caribbean places do, because of the way we were historically brought here, families systematically destroyed, and in a way that didn't really happen anywhere else in the world, as far as I know. And it's easier, I think, for certain cultures to first reach out to each other, like you were saying, the Haitian culture reaching out, the Trinidadian, Guyanese, whatever, because they have a geographical and they have a cultural and political history together. And I'm seeing it more in these spaces as the years have gone, and seems like the African Americans who are indigenous to here are not in the same spaces, so that we all look the same, but we have different backgrounds. And so when we are reaching out to the Caribbean, and when the Caribbean is reaching out to us as African Americans that are native from here, there are many things we don't understand about each other. And many times we might not understand how somebody might take, or let's say, I'm going to just say, feel some type of way. For myself, being a native, indigenous to the United States, sometimes I feel like, okay, I'm in the culture here, but it's an Afro-Caribbean culture. But I also have always believed what you were saying, Maurice, about the diaspora. Wherever they dropped us is where they dropped us, and then we develop from there. So we have more in common, but we have to find ways to connect so that we all are on the same journey to being better, being more powerful as social workers, being influencers of social policies that are going to benefit everybody, as opposed to the way that the society is able to use our divergence or our minor differences to keep us focused on, oh, well, that pertains to them and that's their issue and that they don't understand us, or whatever. But on the personal level, I'm seeing and I'm having the opportunity to be a part of Afro-Caribbean in a way that I really have not been connected in times past. And I have many Afro-Caribbean friends and associates, but it's a difference in terms of working together at at a macro level, even a meso or micro level, that is
Okay,
really
stop.
enlightening. Mm-hmm.
The social worker is talking.
Exactly. So I'm grateful for that, and I 100% believe that all things happen for a reason, because I was going to be placed at a charter school, and I'm a retired teacher. I did not need to be at a charter school. But she said, no. I said, my niece works at that school. She's the dean over there. They said, oh, no, we can't send you there. And here's a folly that's been in my own backyard for 30 years. And now I'm just all the way in.
Okay. Anybody else before we close?
So before we close, I just want to give thanks to Maris for for trusting me and allowing me to lead this and also to tell my story, because I never really told my story this big. So I just want to thank you for that. And also I want to give like a final note. So by always giving thanks and embracing the idea that everything happens for a reason, we can find strength, hope, and joy in every chapter of our lives. So that's all I want to say.
Thank you. Thank you. Mandisa, any final words?
I agree.
Zoom user was on camera for a moment and then she wasn't.
I know,
Or
I saw
I,
it.
I hope I would I enjoyed what she was sharing. I mean, it made me
Yes,
think.
it hit home.
Yeah,
Definitely.
we.
I said my thanks and gratitude. I'm grateful for this moment, and for everyone listening in, who will be listening later on. Take the time while you're listening to all of the stories and connecting with the ways that we were able to come out of our dark places or dark moments, and use whatever we came out on the other end with to help us grow. Do the same for yourself. Take a little time to create that self-awareness and not necessarily to go back in that dark place, but to celebrate yourself on where you are today and use that as momentum to pivot into the next chapter. Where we're in the final quarter of the year. It's a good time to do some self-reflection on the good and the good, bad, and ugly, because this year has been a year. However, this is a good time to set the tone for what next year will bring. Take all of the things that got you through this year to take it with you to the new year. And as you plan, like, what is the theme for your next year? What are you grateful for that happened this year that you're going to bring with you to next year? And like Fab and everyone has mentioned, that gratitude, if you could list at least 10 things that you're grateful for whenever you're feeling down, it will help create additional abundance. It will help bring you up out of that dark place when you could identify things that you're grateful for. It could be the being able to breathe. I'm asthmatic. So when I'm not having an asthmatic episode, I'm so happy I could breathe the air that we breathe. Being able to stand up, put your 2 feet on the floor when you're getting up in the morning is something we might overlook until you can't do it. Right? So some people might say, oh, I don't have 10 things to be grateful for. I promise you, you do. It might feel like a reach. And that's where the self-awareness comes from, taking the time with yourself to find those things. And focus on that each day will continue to get better. We're probably going to do another series on how to find gratitude, because it's such a hard thing to do when you're in a dark place. But let it start with the self-awareness and the 1 or 2 things, if you can't get to 10, that you are grateful for today, and use it to help you in the future. So thank you guys for listening and watching, and thank you for all the speakers that spoke today, and the transparency and the vulnerability in sharing your stories, and continue to give yourself grace.
Okay, thank you. I don't know if Magali, you want to say anything? Okay, thank you everyone for listening to us. And we asking you to share, partager, parce que li bon le nou gaye parole là, nous chacun joindre là dans li. Merci, à la prochaine. Bye bye.